What's going on, guys? Aarava here today, bringing you Let's Talk F1 2015. This is going to be the start of a year-long series analysing the real-life F1 for you guys, so that you may get a better understanding of what goes on with the cars. Now, I plan to do aerodynamic analysis for every single race weekend of the race season in 2015, but since we're in pre-season, I thought it might be nice to do some analysis of the rule changes going to 2015, and trying to discuss what this might mean for the new year, and what the cars might look like subsequently. So in today's video, we're going to kick things off with how the cars might look with the new nose rule changes in this first episode of Let's Talk F1 2015. Last year, due to safety reasons, the FIA enforced lower noses, but the wording of the regulations meant only the tip of the nose had to be low and the chassis could be high, and so lots of antenna noses were seen. Of course, other designs were seen. The best design and also the least ugly was the Mercedes. This design saw an upside down U-shape sort of nose at the front, which was very low, very short, and it was able to make the most space for air to go under the car. But for 2015, all this changes. The FIA wanted to make a more stricter set of parameters for design for the sake of aesthetics and safety. Fears these antenna noses weren't tough enough for crash structures was a factor, but the bigger one was the fact that they just simply were ugly. So they've outlined new rules for how the chassis and front wing structure slopes down to the nose tip, and also made a new requirement that the nose must go through. In 2014, the max height the chassis could go to was 625mm, and the bulkhead had to be at 525mm. So teams, as they would, went to the max height and then dropped the chassis down to meet the bulkhead at 525mm. Now for 2015, there's a guideline for the slope needed from the chassis to the bulkhead. Teams can have a vanity panel over this, just like they did in 2013 and 2014, so that the visible height difference between the chassis and the bulkhead is not actually seen, and it's covered up by a hollow structure. This cuts back on the amount of airflow allowed under the car as a whole, because the whole chassis and the bulkhead is a little bit lower, especially the bulkhead. So this just, in general, the area under the car is a lot less for the air to flow through. And this is even before we get to the nose tip regulation. Now, the nose tip for 2014, it had to have a cross-sectional area of 9,000mm squared, the height of which could be 135mm off the reference plane. This meant the team simply had the upper nose structure and the whole front wing section as high as they could in accordance with the bulkhead, and then simply had this antenna swooping down to meet this nose tip requirement. This is because this allowed maximum air under the car. Mercedes and Lotus designs have also been banned due to the new rules, being very specific that you can't have two different nose tips, and also you can't have a U-shaped structure. Now for 2015, effectively the nose tip is sort of in the same place, but there's a new area where the nose has to go through before it gets to the nose tip. This new area has to be 20,000mm squared. It is 100mm behind the nose tip area and is about 66mm deep depending on the bulkhead. There are also guidelines for where the nose structure needs to be, which are below a tapered line from the nose tip to the bulkhead. Because of this, we will not see designs like Mercedes or Lotus, or even the long antenna. Instead, it may be more like a bump coming out of a nose cone. This is one way of doing things, and this is actually what Scarbs F1, who's written in Autosport magazine, tips the noses to look like, as you'll see on screen right now. Gary Anderson has another view that the noses could be a lot like what Lotus trialled in the USA Free Practice 1 session. This concept is made up of making the whole nose section as wide as required in the new guideline, and making it as short as possible within the regulations. This same sort of concept worked for Mercedes in 2014, so why not 2015? It's just this time the entire thing is like a U, but a bit squashed. But whatever teams come up with, no longer will we have the long antenna noses at the front, nor will we see a Mercedes style big U-shape front. Instead, we'll either get a very tiny U squashed up at the front, or just a little thumb sticking out the nose. It's a bit less ugly than last year, but it still doesn't look quite right. But unfortunately, this is the way we have to go, because the FIA wants the noses as low as possible to aid safety, but the teams want the noses as high as possible to aid air under the car. So they're always going to try and take the rules as literal and try and, work it to how they want it to. So this has been a video of how the F1 2015 cars could look like with the new nose changes. There haven't been any major other updates for the car body structure, so really the cars will look very similar to last year, apart from that front end. So guys, this has been the first episode of Let's Talk F1 2015. As I said, I will be hoping to make this a year-long series, as actually I'm going to be trying to link this heavily with all my university work, so I can actually put this on my CV as a major series that I've done that looks at aerodynamics and F1 as a whole academically, rather than just through video games. So the next episode you can expect to come from the Let's Talk series will be about the 2015 engine rules and what that means for all the manufacturers, including Honda. So stay tuned for that. I hope you guys did enjoy this episode. If you did, give it a like, comment below on what you thought. If you found it helpful and informative, then do tell me. And if you're new around here, then do subscribe for more in real life F1 videos just like this. I hope to be doing a whole year of videos just like this. Last year I did try to do videos like this for every single race weekend, and I sort of gave up around Singapore, but this year I'm very determined to do the whole year, including the pre-season as well, as I said, with the engine video and a few other rule regulation videos, because as I said, I want to try and link this to my university studies and try and make it a sort of academic thing I can put on my CV. So do subscribe for year-round videos like this. I've been Aarava, hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time.